Okay, we're talking lines today, and I don't think you'll find it too terribly hard. Okay, so the first thing we're doing is we want to find the equation of a line. So what we've been given is the slope and the intercept. So it's going to get progressively harder, but this one is real easy. So we know the equation for a line in something called slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So m is my slope, b is where do you hit the y line. Well, I've got everything right here. I've got my slope. The intercept is this -1. That's where it hits the y line. That's what a y-intercept is. So all I have to do is drop it in. And there's my equation. Put it in my slope, putting in my intercept. Now they'll get a little harder than that, of course, but okay, so same thing here. You can always stop, try on your own. I've got my slope. That's my intercept. So the power of the mx plus b is that I've got it all set up. Okay, so I've got my intercept again. I've got a slope equation. It's -1. And I got it. All right, now they're going to ask us to find the equation of the line, and they've given us the picture. So what we need to do is we need to find the slope, and that's going to be, if they've given you the grid here, we're trying to go between two clear points. So I want to go between this point and this point where I see that they're intersecting on the grid lines. Now, slope, as we talked about, is the rise over the run. So I'm here, so I'm going up. So the change in y's over the change in x's is another way to say the same thing. I'm going up 2, so that's the top. I'm going over, how many am I going over? 1, 2, 3. I'm going over 3. Okay, so this is my slope. So now I have the slope, and they've given me the y-intercept. That's the point 0, -4. All right, now it turns into the same problem we were doing before. Y equals 2/3 x, that's my intercept, -4. Okay, I'm going to just keep going. Remember, you can pause it. So there's my other point that I can see clearly hits on an intersection there. It's actually my intercept as well, which is convenient. So what I've got now is I'm going to find my slope, change in the y's of the change in x. Okay, so in the y direction, I'm going 1, 2, 3. In the x direction, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm sure this will change here in a minute, and I'm sure we talked about this previously, but so remember, up is positive, right is positive. So I'm going up 3 to the right 5. So this is both positive. These are both positive numbers. Okay? Now I have my slope. Well, I could use this point over here 4, 5 or 5, 4, and we'll talk about that in, I'm sure, a slide coming up. But I actually have the intercept right here. The y-intercept is the point 0, 1. So let's build our equation. Okay, same thing again. I've actually got my intercept down here, so I'm just going to go ahead and write that as the point 0, -5. Now we're going to go, I've got a good intersection point down here and here, so I'm going to go, I'm going up, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4 in the y, 1, 2, 3 over in the x, both positive. Okay, so there's my slope. Put it in our slope-intercept form. Don't forget the x. People will often forget the x. All right, there's my equation. Okay, now they're going to give you another equation. I'm going to show you where this comes from, but I am going to show you a different way when we work the problems because I think the other way is easier. Here's an equation. Looks like something you got to memorize, but it's really not. We know that this is the equation for the slope. Okay, well, all they're doing to get this equation is they're sending all of this stuff, like it's all a number, just send it up to this other side. Now I'm going to rewrite it the other direction, but it's the same thing. I've just sent this up to the other side. Okay, now where's the rest of it come from? Well, what they're saying is we're going to know the slope and we're going to have a single point, but we're not going to have anything else. So let's just call the second point like, well, we don't know what it is. So I get y minus y1. Okay, now this is called the point slope formula, and it is a little faster than the other method. So I'm going to show you, let me show you one of them with the point slope, and then I'll show you the other way that I think students genuinely like better. Okay, so my formula is y minus the y1, well that's a 3, equals 2/5, that's my slope, x minus the x coordinate of 10. All right, now all I have to do is just do some cleaning up here. So I've got y minus 3 equals 2/5 x. Now do you remember how to do 2/5 times a negative 10? He owns that sign, so I'm going to make him like he's a negative 10. So those will be able to reduce. It's like 10 over 1, so I can cross cancel those, reduce them. So I'm going to get negative, so now multiply across. 2 times 2 is 4 over 1. And that was a negative 2, so I've got this. Okay, now 1 on the bottom doesn't mean anything, so I can just ignore it. Okay, all I did was distribute that 2/5 through the parentheses. All right, now let's add 3 to both sides. Now I'm adding a plus 3 and plus 3, so I'm getting a negative 1. And I got it. Okay, try one on your own if you'd like. So I've got my y coordinates. So this will be my last one like this. Then I'm going to show you the other approach. Okay, let's distribute the 5, 6 through. Now, those will reduce. So I'm sending the 5, 6 down to this guy. And I'm going to get negative 5. Now let's get this in slope-intercept form where the y is by itself. And I got it. Now I'm going to use this one. I don't know how many more of these are left. I'm going to show you the other way that I think is easier. This just requires you to memorize a simpler formula, the slope-intercept, which you probably already know. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to put in the slope. Now the problem is I need b, and I don't have it. Well, because I have a point on the line, I'm going to plug this point into the equation and solve for b. So they're telling me the y is 2. It's supposed to be a 3. The x was a 9. Okay, well let's just tidy this up. So that was a 3. Sorry, it looks terrible. I can reduce that. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus b. So b must be negative 4. Okay, so if I have a student do this approach and they find b, what I worry about, what often happens is I need the final equation for the line. So go back up here and replace b with what you found it. So it turns out to be negative 4. So just make sure you substitute. Now the approach here, this requires the substituting it back in, whatever, maybe a little bit more work than the other equation, but you only have to just remember y equals mx plus b, which I think is easier. Okay, are they doing it? Yeah, they're still doing point slope. So I'm going to show you again with what I was just doing. I'm putting in my slope, but I don't know b. As long as I have a point on the line, it's no big deal. I'm just going to put that point into the equation. Now, I'm going to tidy this up. Do you see this will cancel? 3 and a 6 will get me a 2. It's going to be a negative 2. 3 and 6 can't reduce down. I got a 2 on the top. 1 times 2 is 2. Hopefully you're following that. Now I just lost my problem here. Hold on. I got to do it all over again. The dangers of hitting the wrong button. Now I'm flipping this around, but I haven't changed anything. I've just added 2 to both sides. I would get b is -2. I just didn't like to see it the other way, but it's the same thing. Added 2, added 2. Now just make sure you put your final equation together. Okay, more of the same. Now, if you want, I'd recommend you stop and try it yourself. Now I'm putting that in. That's my x, that's my y. If you're going to have any trouble with this, I think it's probably just you struggle with the fractions. So you can cross reduce here. This is going to be -4. So I've got -5 equals -4 plus b. b is, I'm adding 4, -1. So I'm adding 4, adding 4. Now don't forget to put it all together. Okay, this is a whole lot of the same thing. I don't know that we need another one. Where are we going with this? Okay, I'm going to skip this one. It's exactly the same thing. So now we want a horizontal line. Okay, now this is a little different. So horizontal lines are y lines. So let me say, like, for example, y is 3. People see an equation like that, they think it's an answer, like y is 3, it's one single spot. If we're talking about lines, that means you go to 3 on the y-axis, and y is always 3. So they want me to find a horizontal line, so I know that's a y equals. And they're telling me that it goes through the point -1, 2. Well, if it's going through that point, so let me draw it. Here's the point they're talking about. But I know it's a horizontal line that goes through that point. So isn't it just the line y equals 2? So what I'm getting at here is when I see horizontal line, I see a y. And all I need is the y coordinate, and I've got the equation for the line. Okay, so I got another horizontal line here, so I know it's a y line. All I need is the y coordinate. I'm sure you see the idea now. Okay, well, I don't know if they're going to do this. If I had had a vertical line, vertical lines are x lines. So all I would have to do is make an x line and take that coordinate of -1. So on a graph, you go to -1, it's always -1. And so that would be if they had asked for a vertical line. I don't know if that's coming, but I was afraid they might not ask. Okay, now what happens if we want to find an equation of a line? We have 2 points. Well, all we need to do is we're going to do the exact same process, but we have to first find the slope. They haven't given it to us. So, yeah, I'll show it because I don't like how they're doing that. So we know how to find the slope. I'm taking my second y minus my first y, my second x minus my first x. Okay, so my slope is -1. Okay, now it becomes the exact same problem as before. I'm going to do it this way. Now, I can choose either point. If these points are on the line, they'll both work. So pick whichever one you want. I'm going to pick this one. My y is 6. I got my b. It's 9. Okay, same thing. I'm going to find my slope. Taking my second y minus my first one. My second x minus my first one. Just don't mix that up. Okay, so I've got a fraction for a slope, but that's fine. Y is 5/2. Don't forget the x plus b. Now I'll put in either point. This time I'll take the first one. It really doesn't matter. Wow, this is a nasty one. This is not very nice numbers. I'm trying to look ahead. Okay, I would have liked it if this had tidied up a little nicer, but here's what I've got. Do you remember 5 over 2 times 3 over 1? Nothing reduces, so I'm going to get 15 over 2. Okay, here, this is a lesson in fractions. Now, I'm going to subtract 15 over 2. It's a fraction, but it's still just a number. I'm going to subtract that from both sides to find b. But now, how do you do that with 1? Well, to make 1 a fraction, I put it over 1. To subtract them, I need a common denominator, so I'm going to make it 2 over 2 minus 15 over 2. Okay, b is a very weird number. It is negative 13 over 2. But that's okay. It's just a number. And I go and I put my equation together. Oh, sorry. That's the y-intercept. My slope was 5 over 2 x minus 13 over 2. All right, hold on. I'm going to make sure. I'm going to see where we're going with all this. Okay, almost done there. I didn't know if there's another idea coming. Let's work another one. Just in case you want to see it, we're going to find our slope. 2 minus 4 over 6 minus 1. Oh, is this the one I just did? I think it is. So I'm skipping that because I think it's the same thing and I think I just did it. Okay, now something interesting is going to happen on this one. So we got a little variation here. Let's do it again. I've got m is, I'm going to change my second y minus my first one. Now my second x minus my first one. Now remember that these two negatives in a row make this negative 2 plus 2. Well, that's 0, and that's undefined. So an undefined slope is one where the x's always stay the same. So the x's are always negative 2. That's a vertical line. So I have a vertical line that goes through these points. Well, vertical lines are x lines. So x is, it's happening here where the negative 2's stay the same. X is negative 2. So talk you through the logic one more time. I found my slope. It was an undefined slope. So if you memorize this, that's an x line. So I need an x line. But if you haven't memorized it, what that means is the x's always stayed the same. They always stayed the same. That's a vertical line, an x line. And as you can see, they keep going through negative 2 because that's where the line is going. So this is my vertical line. Now the same thing is going to happen here. If I found the slope, do you see that the 5's are the same? So I'm going to get a 0 on the bottom. It's going to be undefined. That's an x line. So all I have to do is say, okay, I got an x line. Well, where's it going? It's going on the number 5. There we go. Okay, doing the same thing again. So you see this is going to be an x line going through negative 4 because I have the same x's. Okay, you could have gotten the same. I don't know why they kind of repeated. Let me, before I close here, if this had been the same y's, well then we'd know we had a y line. And all we'd have to do is go through the same process and make a y line. Y is 3 or whatever. Okay, now that's the basic approach for finding the equation given a slope and a point, or if they give you 2 points.